You want more leads for your business coming from your website that you're not quite getting, and you're wondering if your website design has anything to do with it. Do you need a website redesign? Luckily for us today, we have one of Impact's web strategists, Janet Mendez-Latouche, with us today to see if that's the case. How's it going, Janet?
It's going well. Hey, Austin. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, of course. We're so glad to have you here. I have a question, and to get started, let's ask, what in your opinion kind of constitutes a well-designed website?
Good question. Yeah, I think a well-designed website really boils down to functionality over appearance, right? I know that everyone wants a really attractive, flashy site, right? And it's important to an extent. But like the ultimate goal of our website is just to really communicate who we are and what we do clearly enough that it's going to increase conversions, right? And that in turn will help our sales and marketing efforts. So if your site really isn't achieving that, then it's really not serving its purpose, right? So I think what makes a good website is that it strategically converts users into leads and then performs as your best sales tool.
Mm. Oh, that's a really good explanation. That's cool. And I heard you say like it's more about function over the form. But do you think there's ever a time where if your website isn't bringing in enough leads that maybe the design, the aesthetic, the form could be to blame, or is it something else?
Yeah, I think it's the hand-in-hand thing, right? So if your website design is kind of outdated, we're talking about 1999 dial-up service, right? Or it's even too complex. I've seen that as well, where they go like, over and above, and you have animations coming in from the left and the right, and it's kind of distracting to the user, right? Both of those things, either under-designed or over-designed, can definitely turn away potential leads. And I've even seen technical issues, right? So slow load times, broken pages, buttons, all of that design experience can really hurt the user's experience and cause them to just kind of bounce off. Essentially, what we're doing is we're creating a roadblock for them, right, in order to convert. But what I see the most often, aside from design, is really just it's a simple lack of strategy behind the site. So when I'm analyzing a site, when I'm looking through it and trying to figure out, hey, whether this site needs a redesign or not, I'm really asking myself if the website is really thinking through the user journey and strategically using their content, their landing pages, and their calls to action to actually get the user to where they need them to go, which is our primary call to action, or even transitional calls to action. So for example, if you don't have clear steps on your homepage, like you're not mapping out the ideal user journey that your user should take to do business with you, then it's not going to really matter what your site looks like. You're just not going to see very many conversions.
Mm.
And actually, Austin, like I would take it even one step further, because the most thing, like, people do redesigns all the time and they spend all this money and investment, and what happens? It just stays static. It's just for years on end. And so what we see is that that's just the biggest loss right there. We have a world of data in our hands. We have heat mapping, we have analytics, and that really gives us insight into the user journey and their experience so that we can then see where the roadblocks are and optimize for that experience. So yes, long story short, design is a factor, but even an outdated design can really do well with the right optimization strategy.
Awesome. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And like you said, it's really about guiding the customer along the correct journey, making sure that
Yeah.
strategy is there, always being able to update things depending on how people are interacting with your site instead of
Yeah.
just like, hey, we made it beautiful, let's leave it be.
A lot of times we're guessing, right? We're kind of just putting things up there and saying, oh, I guess this is what the user journey is. But if we're not actually thinking of ourselves as the user and taking that journey ourselves, we often have a lot of misses and create more roadblocks than it's needed.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. So would there ever be a time where someone actually would need a redesign then?
Yes, definitely. So, I mean, I know it's a big investment, so we definitely want to make sure that it's going to pay off. So, if you are considering investing in a new website, I would take a look at those three key areas. The first one being page speed. So, is your site loading quickly? Are you experiencing major delays that's going to impact the user experience? That's a huge one. Secondly, would be conversions. Are you attracting and capturing those qualified leads, right? So ask your sales and marketing teams, are we hitting our goals? Or is your website just acting like a pretty front door that no one is going to walk through, right? And then the last but not least is probably the most important is usability. So is your website easy to manage and update? Are you able to change the content, right? So if you do find issues with the conversions, are you actually able to change a button? Are you able to run tests on your site? Or are you basically beholden to another agency to do it for you and having to wait on their times? So I would say if you're facing any of those challenges, those are the major areas that would kind of call to me like, hey, you do need a redesign.
Awesome. Cool. Well, thanks for sharing all that. Gave us a good place to kind of look at our sites and get started. So thanks for sharing your knowledge with us today, and we'll see you on the next one.
Thanks.
Having a website that meets your customers' needs is key to any business. If you and your business need some help with your site, book a free website consultation at impactplus.com.